Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to read to you about a holiday called Passover. It's kind of hard to see me, isn't it? Passover is celebrated by Jewish people, as well as other people who use things from the Torah, which is, as we talked about before, the Jewish holy book, like people who are Christian or people who are Muslim. I'm going to try to turn on the light, see if that'll fix things for us quick. All right, that's much better. All right, so today we're going to talk about Passover. So that's actually brings us to our first vocab word. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So Passover is a holiday, again, celebrated primarily by Jewish people, or Jewish people is very important to Jewish people, but other people celebrate it too, like some Christian people and some Muslim people also celebrate it. And our first book is called Exodus from Egypt. Exodus is when a whole bunch of people are leaving somewhere. So we're going to see a whole bunch of people leaving Egypt. All right. Let's stop sharing. So here's our first book, Exodus from Egypt. Long ago, God's chosen people, the Israelites, were slaves in Egypt. The Egyptians worked them hard and treated them badly, and the Israelites cried out to God for help. God heard their cries. He decided he would free the Israelites from Egypt and take them to their own land. He chose a man named Moses to lead them. Moses would have to persuade Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to let the Israelites go. But Moses was a poor speaker, so his brother Aaron was asked to talk for him. Moses would tell Aaron what to say, just as God told Moses. Moses and Aaron went to the Pharaoh and said, "The Lord, the God of Israel, says to you, 'Let my people go, so that they may worship me in the desert.'" But the Pharaoh replied, "Who is the Lord? I don't know him, and I will not let the Israelites go." That same day, the Pharaoh gave orders for his slave drivers to work the Israelites still harder. They had already made bricks, but now they had to gather the straw to mix into the brick mud as well. And they had to produce as many bricks as before. When the Israelites complained to Pharaoh, he was furious. "Lazy, that's what you are, lazy," he cried. "All you want to do is go into the desert and make sacrifices to your Lord. Now get back to work." That's not very nice of him. Moses was unhappy. He spoke to God. "Why have you brought trouble on my people? Is this why you sent me?" God replied, "Go with Aaron again to Pharaoh. Ask again to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt." Pharaoh will not listen. "I shall harden his heart, but then I will show him my power with signs and marvels. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron went again to the Pharaoh, this time to show God's power. Moses told Aaron to throw his staff on the floor. Instantly, it became a snake. Pharaoh summoned his magicians. Each of them threw down his staff, and each staff became a snake. So, even though Aaron's snake swallowed the others, Pharaoh would not listen to Moses, just as God had said. Wow, they all have sticks that turn into snakes. I wonder what they'll do now that none of them have sticks anymore. Have to go get some new sticks. All right. Now God sent 10 great plagues. All right. This brings us to our next vocab word, plague. So a plague can mean a few different kinds of things. It's basically something like a disease, or sometimes it's just something bad that happens, right? So you have, here are a few different examples of like a plague of rats might come. Here's some other pictures. Here's a plague of just diseases, like we have the coronavirus today. Yeah, oh, that's a cool picture. I don't know what this has to do with plagues though. All right. Let's see here. Stop share. 1 sec. All right, sorry about that. First, he told Moses to go to the Pharaoh again. Meet the king by the edge of the Nile. Aaron must stretch his staff across the river. Its waters will turn to blood. There shall be blood through the land. Moses and Aaron did as God commanded. As Pharaoh and his courtiers watched, Aaron struck the Nile with his staff, and his water turned to blood. All the fish in the river died, and the water smelled so bad that the Egyptians could not drink it. But again, the Pharaoh's magicians could perform similar tricks. Pharaoh returned to his palace and refused to change his mind. A week passed, and Moses went again to the Pharaoh. The Lord says, "Let my people go, or I will plague your whole country with frogs. They will come into your palaces and your bed. They will climb all over you." And when Pharaoh still refused God's demand, the frogs came and covered the land. Pharaoh's magicians called up frogs as well, but this time the Pharaoh was frightened. He summoned Moses and said, "Beg your God to remove the frogs, and I shall let your people go." Moses did as the Pharaoh asked. The frogs died and were piled into heaps, and the land reeked of them. When the Pharaoh saw that the problem was gone, he changed his mind. The Israelites must stay in Egypt. Well, that's not very nice when he goes back on his promise. So God sent a new plague, a plague of lice that crawled all over the Egyptian people and their animals. Pharaoh's magicians could not copy this marvel. "This is the finger of God," they told their king, but the Pharaoh refused to listen to them. And Moses said to the Pharaoh, "The Lord says, 'Let my people go, or I shall send a plague of insects. They will cover your houses, but the Israelites' home will remain untouched.'" The great swarms came, and the Pharaoh said he would let the Israelites go if Moses would remove the insects. But when the insects were gone, the Pharaoh went back on his word, and so it continued. God sent plague after plague, and each time the Pharaoh would agree to let the Israelites go. But as soon as God removed the plague, the Pharaoh's heart would harden, and he would break his promise, just as God had said. This doesn't seem to be working out. There was a plague that killed all the Egyptians' cattle and sheep, then another that caused boils and ulcers to break out on all the Egyptians and their animals. Those are kind of like rashes. Pharaoh's magicians had so many boils that they could not stand before Moses. Next came terrible storms. Moses raised his staff to the sky, and God sent down hailstones mixed with thunder and lightning. The stones battered the Egyptians' barley and flax, but left the Israelites' crops untouched. The Egyptians were becoming desperate. "Let the Israelites go," the courtiers said to the Pharaoh. "Can't you see Egypt is ruined?" But when the Pharaoh spoke to Moses, he offered to let only the Israelite men to leave Egypt, not their women and children. In reply, Moses stretched out his staff across the land. This time God sent a swarm of locusts that ate everything that the hail had not destroyed. The Egyptians' wheat, the fruit, their trees, nothing green remained. Locusts, we don't really have locust swarms in around here, but they're like a whole bunch of grasshoppers, and they come and they eat everything. Once again, Pharaoh agreed to let the Israelites go if God would remove the locusts. And once again, when the locusts were gone, he broke his word. So God sent a great darkness over Egypt, which lasted 3 days. No one could see anyone else or leave his place. God only gave the Israelites light to see by. And still, Pharaoh would not agree to Moses' demands. Now God spoke to Moses, "I shall bring one more plague to Egypt. After that, Pharaoh will let you go. Tell the Israelites to prepare for a meal. Each household shall kill a lamb. They shall put some of the blood around the doorway of the houses. Then they shall roast the lamb and eat it. That night I shall pass through Egypt and kill every firstborn son. But when I see the blood on the door, I shall know to pass over that house. Death will not strike the Israelites as it does the Egyptians. And Moses told the Israelites all that God had said, and they did as he commanded. And at midnight on that day, God struck down all the firstborn sons of Egypt, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sat on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon. A loud cry rose up from the Egyptians, for there was not one house without someone dead. And that's very sad. Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron in the middle of the night. Get up and go over from among my people, you and the Israelites. Go worship the Lord as you have asked. And all the Egyptians urged the Israelites to leave. So the Israelites took their belongings and set out for Egypt. There were about 600,000 men on foot, with women and children. They took their flock and their herds on their shoulders. They carried dough without any yeast, which is matzah, which we'll talk a little bit about later, because they did not have time to prepare the bread properly. And they journeyed towards the Red Sea, with God ahead to guide them, by day in a pillar of cloud, and by night in a pillar of fire. They're walking a lot. Whew. Now Pharaoh began to regret his decision. He had his chariot made ready, and with a vast army he set out in pursuit of the Israelites. The Israelites were camping by the shores of the Red Sea when they saw the Pharaoh's armies. Terrified, they cried out to God. Moses reassured them, God will save you. You will never see the Egyptians again. Just stand firm. And following God's orders, Moses raised his staff and stretched out his hand across the sea. The waters parted, and the Israelites went across the sea on dry land, a wall of water on their left and their right. Pharaoh, with all his soldiers, chariots, and horses, followed, but God made the wheels of the chariots stick. It was difficult for them to move forward. The Egyptians began to panic. When all the Israelites had safely crossed the sea, Moses turned and stretched out his hand across the water. The walls of the water broke down and flooded together again, covering the Pharaoh and his entire army. All the Egyptians drowned. Finally, the Israelites knew they were safe. They had seen God's power, and they had faith in him and his servant Moses. Miriam, Moses, his sister, took a tambourine, and with it, all the other women danced and sang in praise of God who led them out of Egypt. Little tambourine. All right, so that is the story that is being celebrated during Passover, but the actual celebration and how people celebrate it, and a story about some people celebrating it, will be done by our wonderful guest, Bali. I will hand it over to her for that.
Hello everyone, my name is Bali Summers, and today I'm going to be reading you this Passover story. It's called More Than Enough. There's some notes at the back of the book that sort of describe some of the words that we'll come across. The first and most important of those words today is Dayenu. Kind of hard to see. Dayenu. A joyous Passover song. Dayenu means it would have been enough. It is a thanksgiving song for all that was given to the Jewish people, proclaiming that any one of the gifts, such as leading them out of slavery, parting the Red Sea, and the giving of the Torah, would have been enough. It is a reminder to be aware of and grateful for the blessings in each moment. Some other words are afikoman, a piece of matzah that is hidden during the Seder and without which the Seder cannot end. The one who finds it may receive a small reward. Chad Gadya, a playful and symbolic song about a little goat that's sung at the end of the Seder, often with sound effects. Charoset, a mixture often made of apples or dates, nuts, cinnamon, honey, and wine or grape juice, symbolizing the mortar Jewish slaves used when they built structures for the Egyptians. Elijah is a prophet for whom a door is opened during the Seder, inviting him to enter. This signifies the hope for Elijah's return to earth, said to usher in an age of peace. The song Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, is a Passover favorite. Haggadah, or the telling in Hebrew, is a small book used at the Passover Seder that includes the order of the ritual meal, the story of the Israelites' escape from slavery in Egypt, poetry, and songs. Matzah is unleavened bread. This cracker is eaten to remember the Jewish slaves who fled Egypt so quickly that they couldn't wait for their bread to rise. Passover, or Pesach in Hebrew, is a widely observed Jewish holiday that commemorates the Exodus, when Israelites escaped from Egypt and slavery. A Seder is the ceremonial meal. Seder literally means order of Passover, which includes reading the Haggadah and eating symbolic foods. The Seder plate is a plate containing food symbolic of the Passover story, among them zeroah, or roasted shank bone, charoset, often made from chopped nuts, apples, and spices, chazeret, or lettuce, karpas, parsley or potato, beitza, which is roasted or hard-boiled egg, and maror, or horseradish. Okay, let's start the actual story. So again, the title is More Than Enough. We wander the market surrounded by colors. Dayenu. We buy apples and walnuts, lilacs and honey. Dayenu. We reach through the bars. Oh wait, did I skip a page? No, I didn't. We reach through the bars to lift one purring kitten. He licks Mama's nose. So she says we can keep him. Dayenu. Wait, is that rain? Yes, it's rain. We can taste it. Dayenu. Kitty meets Daddy as we carry in groceries. Dayenu. We chop apples and walnuts and mix in the grape juice. Dayenu. We soak in blue bubbles and dress up for dinner. Dayenu. We dash through the puddles with our bowl of charoset. Dayenu. We skip into Nana's and show who we rescued. Dayenu. We set out the plate filled with symbols of freedom. Dayenu. We ask the 4 questions and all sing Dayenu. There are matzo balls, chicken, and jellied fruit slices. Dayenu. We search high and low for the lost afikoman. Dayenu. We open the door for Elijah, the prophet, and Ba like a goat sing Chad Gadya's verses. Dayenu. We play with our kitten till Nana says bedtime. She wraps us in blankets, then sings Eliyahu. Dayenu. Her kiss on our foreheads, a purring warm kitten, a feast in our tummies, night rain at the window. Passover sleepover. Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. And that's the end. So, thank you so much for listening.
All right, everyone, I'm back. I was going to have us do a craft about frogs. Oh, frogs. Huh? But I could not figure out how to fold the little frog. So instead, we're going to do one on locusts, which, as we remember, is just are a whole bunch of grasshoppers. When they swarm together, they become locusts and they eat everything. So I'm going to be using these straws, and you can use straws too. I recommend that you use pipe cleaners, but I don't have any pipe cleaners on me right now because I was planning to do a frog, but let's try this out. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll set one out like this, and we'll fold it up a little bit. I just folded it in half twice, like that. And now I'm going to add some legs. So we'll lay it across like this, and then I'll wrap it around this way, and then I'll wrap it around the other way. Okay, so now we have 2 legs. And if we remember, grasshoppers have how many? 6 legs, because they are insects, which all have 6 legs, where spiders have 8 legs. So we're going to need to get 6 more legs, which will mean 3 more, or 2 more pairs to get 6 legs total. Okay. So we're going to try to do the same thing with the next one. All right. Now we have 4 legs. Things that have 4 legs are like dogs, cats, cows. Can't think of anything else. And now let me think. Dinosaurs. A lot of dinosaurs have 4 legs. Some have 2 legs. Snakes have no legs. Lizards have 4 legs. So let's see. What I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to wrap this up and tie it together so that everything doesn't try to come apart. So now our grasshopper has 4 legs and is stable. Just need to add 2 more legs, and then maybe we'll try to add a head. We'll see. We'll see how the head goes. Okay. You can, if you want, you can try to do this where you try to make the back 2 legs longer, because grasshoppers have 2 pretty long back legs. Or you can not. There are a lot of different kinds of grasshopper, or at least, you see a whole bunch of different colors. I don't really know very much about grasshoppers. I used to catch them a lot when I was younger, and when it was during the summer. Didn't catch very many during the winter. I caught one during the fall once for a thing though. I had an assignment to bring in some grasshoppers because we were looking at grasshoppers that day and how far they jumped, I think. Okay, let's see here. So tying this is kind of, I think, the hardest part. I had green straws too. Could have tried using all of those. But I think we can have a pretty colorful little grasshopper. Okay, so we'll tie that. let's try untying this part, because I think that's where a lot of our problems are coming from. So here we have 1, 2, 3 legs. And if we put this through here, I think we can get 4 legs. Oh. Weave this thing through here, tie that. Oh, that didn't work too well. Let's try that again. So we have 2 legs. You just have to do that 2 more times to get 6 legs. That just tore apart. I do think that this is much easier with pipe cleaners. But sometimes, you have to make do with what you've got. Let's try this one. Okay. So we put this around here, goes around here. Then we'll try to tuck this around here. We'll go around here. So go around here. We'll stick that through here. Try this again. We'll try to make a knot here. All right, let's see if we have a little thing to tie this up. See if we can get something to make sure that this stays. All right, here we go. This should hopefully work. Okay, so we tie it up, and then we're going to take one of these little rubber band things. That one also broke. So we will try to move this a little like this. We will move these together like this. Put this here. I'll tie it tight. So now we have, oh, we kind of made it have wings. Well, that's okay. Some grasshoppers have wings. But we will then just add the last two. Let's see here. Okay. This should be the last two. And I don't think we're going to try to do a head because of how long just the legs and the body took. Okay. But you can feel free to do a little head if you want. One sec. All right. Sorry about that. I got all of the legs on, and we have our kind of grasshopper. This ended up more of an abstract art piece than it was supposed to be, but I guess that happens sometimes. You know, if you're using pipe cleaners at home, I think you're probably having a little bit better luck than I had with this. But yeah, it does have all 6 legs. All right, well, I'll see you, if not next week, I think the week after that. I think Grant is doing Easter with some guests next week. And I think the week after that, I will see you for Vesak Day. All right, well, bye everyone.